Hi, I'm Eric.
And I'm Aurora.
This is the Family Retort.
We fight at the dinner table, so you don't have to.
Welcome. So, today is a little bit of a special one. We're going to talk about something that recently happened to me, and we're going to roll into some, I guess, politics dealing with police funding, I think is a hot topic. We've talked about this a whole lot, just casually, all the time, and it's a repeat one. But I think now is, well, a good time to talk
Yeah.
about it, a good time to touch on it.
Yeah, we're gonna get I'm excited about this live streaming reaction to this video you've got here.
I actually have two
Current-
videos, and for all the people who are listening on SoundCloud or something else, sorry, it's on the YouTube, so you're gonna have to go check it out over there. But first things first, this was my car. This,
Ooh, beautiful
oh
car.
shit, it's a screw you, um,
I'm sorry, I don't understand cars.
2021 Charger Scat Pack with the wide body. There is only about a few trim lines higher than that, and that's the Hellcat. So it's a muscle car. It was mostly paid off, and there was a lot of sentimental value in it.
I'm really sorry about your car, though.
Well, we're going to go through what happened. So, on Friday the 13th of October in the year 2023.
Oh, damn, really? Friday the 13th?
Yeah, Friday the 13th. I can't believe that shit either. Um, I walked out to go drop off my kid at his daycare, and then I was going to go out for the weekend. So my car was loaded up with a whole bunch of stuff in it too.
No.
I didn't see it. I went, okay, well, my first reaction was, oh shit, it's gone. So I went, okay, maybe, the guy, because we have a guy that patrols the area where I live, and I was like, okay, he might have towed it out. Right? It happens. And I kind of fought with him the last time we talked. I kind of maybe said, uh, they don't pay you enough to think.
Mean,
I did
but
apologize
true.
for it. I did apologize. I wanted to know how we could fix it, and he's like, "Well, that's not my responsibility. I don't
Well,
blah 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 blah." Anyway, so I thought, "Oh, great. I pissed this guy off and now he towed it." So I called up our management company. I said, "Hey, did you guys tow my car last night?" And they said, "No. We did not tow your car." And I went, "Fuck my life. My car just got stolen." So here's another angle of it. This is with a Porsche. Just ignore the Porsche. That's my friends. Um, so we called into the police station. Immediately made a report. We called pretty much everybody we had to. We went in, we made the police report, and then so my car, and a lot of Dodges have this if they have the Sirius XM Guardian, right? So the Sirius XM Guardian is supposed to track your car. You can like unlock your car from any distance from your phone. It's supposed to be kind of like a fun. It's almost kind of gimmicky in a way. So
so
I was like,
theoretically useful.
but the cool thing is you can track where it was last parked.
Mm.
So I gave my son to my wife. She went and dropped him off at daycare for the day. She gets back. I'm like, let's get in the car. Let's go. Let's go get these guys because I know where it was. So sure enough, we're calling the police. I'm going, hey, I know where my car's at. It's at this location. I have a shotgun and I have bolt cutters in the car. I'm gonna go recover it. No, 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 no. And they're trying to do their thing. They're like, no, no, don't do that. We'll come in. We'll do what we can. We'll get that back for you. Blah 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 blah. So
Sure.
I live in the greater LA area. I'm not going to give exactly where I live, But we went to the Hollywood Hills, which for starters is super weird that it's was tracked to that location. So we're trying to find it. I'm trying to like auto start my car because it's really loud. I'm trying to do anything I can to hear it. I'm going around with my key fob. Nothing.
Yeah. What?
We couldn't find it. We couldn't locate it. We didn't see anything. So I call up the SiriusXM Guardian again and go, "Hey, my car is stolen. You guys need to start tracking this." And they said, "Okay, well, it's in stolen car mode now. We're going to be tracking it for 2 weeks." I said, 2 weeks? That's it? Why only 2 weeks? Oh, because that's how long we track it for. It's just a company policy. I was like, well, it could be longer than 2 weeks. What the fuck are you guys doing? So we'll get more into that a little bit later on just how fucked up SiriusXM Guardian is. And if anybody's listening and anybody's thinking about getting it on their car or like OnStar, don't. Because the
Well,
second
is there a
something
better option?
happens,
Because I feel like it's better to be able to track your car than not track your car at all. But
they were just above useless because you could call it any time of day, 24 hours, and get an update on your car. But the update was, oh, it's still in the same location. Well, what's that location? We can't tell you that. Okay, why?
is that to like prevent stalking?
Well, they explained it as it's to prevent you from doing anything stupid, breaking and entering, anything that would get you in trouble. And I said, I understand that. I get it. I'm just trying to find my car. And if you know where it is, I want to go get it back. Right?
Sounds like an Apple tag would be more effective. There's like a huge concern ages ago about people putting Apple tags on other people's cars to track them.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing there is a bunch of aftermarket stuff, but I'm kind of just doing this as a PSA. Don't trust, um, you know, any
Don't
kind
rely
of
on this.
don't rely on that kind of service if you're like I said they were just above useless. So
More of a hassle than a help.
yeah, because if I would have been able to track it, I probably would have gotten my car back. Because sure enough, we're like, okay, well, where is it? Well, we've informed the police. This is talking to the SiriusXM people once we get a hold of it. Well, we've talked to the police and we're going to dispatch somebody. No response. Nothing. Okay, well, where's my car? Well, we didn't see it. Okay,
What do you mean they didn't see it?
yeah, we're getting to that. I was like, okay, well,
Is that what
can
the
you?
police said?
Yep. I was like, and you've seen my car. It's not. It's pretty flashy. It's not a subtle car by any means. And that color combination, you're not really going to see it very often. It's uh,
Fine.
probably the only one in the greater LA area that has that. I'm on a bunch of forums and I've only seen a few with that same color combination because the hood, the top, and the back are all that matte black. So you can kind of see it in some of these pictures. So from there, I went, okay, go home. We'll try and figure this out later. Maybe we'll talk to the cops. Maybe they can get the information, then they can relay it to us. So we did get a location. Eventually. Kind of. They said, we can't give you the exact location, but it's between this street and this street. Which, sure enough, was in the, where was it? It was in West Hollywood. So we went, okay, well, I'm going to hoof it. So I had about, oh gosh, a 6 block radius to check because they weren't being specific. So I walked up and down streets. I looked in apartment complexes. I called up apartment complexes. And this is over the period of a few days now. So I didn't just do this all at once.
Hmm.
So we're trying to narrow it down, and finally, the police give us a little bit more information, and we narrowed it down to like one crossroad. So I'm out there canvassing. So I'm talking to anybody, everybody I can. I'm talking to neighbors, people, and this is a nice neighborhood. These are like $5 million mansions. So I'm trying to like use my key or anything I can. Nothing is working. Sure enough, I call SiriusXM, and they're like, "Nope, it's still in the same spot. It's still in the same spot." So we have to like infer which house it is. And talking to with one of the local people, she's like, "Okay, well, this house is kind of shady, and this place is kind of shady. You know, we don't really know much about them. That used to be a house where homeless people were living in, and like all kinds of other crazy
Oh,
stuff." So we did a bunch
what
of.
a nice, like, helpful neighborhood person.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna, if we ever recover it, even if we don't recover it, I'll probably still go out there and thank her at some point. Um, give her some ceramic stuff I've made just as a thank you because she was super helpful and she was like, "Yeah, I'll keep an eye out." You know, very nice
Did
lady.
any of those tips pay off about those shady places where your car is in one of them?
Nope, we're going
Oh.
on almost 2.5 weeks now.
Oh, and it still hasn't turned up? I thought that you were able to find it,
Nope.
like, the first time you were able
So,
to get the GPS location and,
yep.
like, drone over it and found it at first, and then it got moved.
So, I don't know. I don't know what happened. But here's the thing: SiriusXM was like, "Nope, it's in this spot. It's in this spot." And then, so they only do 2 weeks, and they only track it for 1 week, and then you need to call them and renew it for another week. So
Lame.
they're, oh man, I am to say I'm pissed with that service is an understatement because the second it shut off, we never got a read on our car again. So,
Just disappeared, car gone forever and
yep,
ever.
pretty much. That's what we're at. We're at it's gone now and there is no chance of getting it back. So, it's frustrating because I can go into my app and I can pull up and sure enough, it was last located at one of those shady places.
Oh, that she pointed out.
Yep. So that guy, so that house either knew something or was parked out front of there or something because it's showing right smack dab in the middle of their house.
Sketchy.
But here's what I want to show you that I think is absolutely insane. So let's pull it up. So this is I have about, we'll say, like 9 different cameras from 3 different houses all showing this. I'm only going to show you the highlights. Can you see it all right?
Yeah, I'm watching this
So
video.
this
I'm
black car,
seeing an a
I know
street
it's kind
with
of
lights.
I know it's kind of hard, but this black car on the right-hand side has been perusing around our neighborhood for a while. We've seen it on a few other cars going or on a few other cameras going back and forth along like the street. This is kind of a
And is
walled
this
off
time
area.
showing that it's like 4:20 in the morning?
Yep. So this guy parks. This guy's looking at my car. I don't know if somebody got off at this part. I know it's kind of hard to see. I tried to zoom in, but I couldn't really get anything else. But within the period of 2 minutes, you'll see here, they're both gone. So he pulls up next to my car. I know it's kind of hard to see, but my car is parked right next to where this guy's at.
So so where his car is kind of pulling up in this corner, that's where your car is. He's pulling up next to your car.
Yep.
And then when this guy drives away, is your car gone?
You'll see. But I
Is he
had
backing down the street?
no. This is along a wall, so you can't go out. There's only like two ways you can get in or out, and you can see one on the left side, and then there's one on the right side. It's kind of there. So he parked, and then within, I know the camera ended there, but there's the car again, and here you'll see my car just driving off with a broken windshield in the
What?
back, just like that.
Oh my God. Following that car. What the fuck?
Yeah. So
What's the timestamp on that? Is that still at like
that was
4:20?
that was 4:24. I think it's like 45 seconds or whatever. So within the
Oh
period
my
of
God.
like a few minutes, they were gone. My car alarm didn't go off. Nobody heard it. Nothing. They were just
Jesus.
that quick.
That's like professional level. That's insane.
And apparently,
And
this is one of the number one cars right now being stolen are the Dodge Chargers and Hellcats. Well, the Charger, the Hellcats, and the Scat Packs. So my model and then the ones above it. And it's just like an epidemic right now.
I really heard about the Kias being stolen in Detroit and there being a class action lawsuit, but I didn't hear about the Dodgers. Is there a class action lawsuit happening that you're joining?
Um, I might start calling some people around Monday and seeing if anybody's interested in taking up the case. I'm not gonna lie.
But there isn't already one going
Nope,
on.
there is not. But I seriously think Dodge has to pay for being this easy because we actually did some research on this too.
That's like less than
And
5 minutes. Jesus.
yeah, it was basically 3 minutes that they were in and out. And I've seen some other footage where people will come up with like a big antenna, go by your door, stick this antenna up to your door so they can read your key fob, and then they'll copy it. And then that's all they
Oh,
need. That's all they need. Don't even need a break in. They have your key.
smooth.
So
So professional. Wow. Is this like an epidemic in California?
it's everywhere right now.
What do you think is behind this like huge rise in car theft?
People being pieces of shit that deserve their hands being cut off.
So you're for capital punishment?
I'm for frontier justice, if that makes sense.
You know that prison was apparently like originally like supposed to be more humane than capital punishment?
Which
Like a
which prison?
prison apparently
Oh,
no, the idea of prison
oh,
in general was supposed to be like more humane and just and like it was like the social justice warriors of the time were fighting for prison instead of capital punishment way back when. How do you think that worked out for us?
it's pretty funny. So I just pulled up an article. Dodge, Hyundai, Kia are among the most frequently stolen, and it basically
Okay.
talks about how uh, Dodge Hellcats Chargers are the two most frequently stolen vehicles in the U.S. for models 2020 and 2020 through 2022. And they were actually Dodge was supposed to implement like a three system lock on their cars, so you needed three things in place before your car would start, and they never did that. There's no recall. There's no nothing.
I feel like there has to be said for like our lack of consumer protections these days. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like who holds these companies accountable for these lack of consumer protections? Because I mean, they made millions of dollars off of this. What recourse do people have? Sure, a class action lawsuit, but is that enough to hold them accountable? And
I
who
mean,
can like who has the
I
power to do that?
I think really the people who money talks, right?
Sure.
Money talks. I think you put enough pressure and you make them pay for their lack of, I guess, security or whatever you want to call it in this instance. And they'll go, well, we don't want to lose like $1 billion. I was just recently saw that I know this is kind of tangential, but I was actually part of a class action lawsuit for 3M for the military because they had defective earplugs, and they
Oh,
and they have to pay like $3 billion right now.
but how much do you get out of that? Does that how does like
I it's so the group kind of gauged it off of where your baseline hearing was and then what it is today. And if you used those hearing anytime in there, they'll compensate you for how badly it was. So I just signed my paperwork. It looks like I might get $10,000, maybe a few $1,000s removed for lawyer fees, which is understandable. So maybe about 6K. That's not nothing. But they have to pay out, I think it's like 28,000 people, with like the people who were affected the most getting paid, I think like, oh gosh, I don't know how much was like $25,000. So it's not an insignificant amount of money.
well what how badly were the people worse affected?
Probably severe hearing loss. But
Do you think that I don't know, to me, permanent hearing loss, like becoming deaf because of a lack of proper PPE or faulty PPE or false advertising, that doesn't seem like a fair equivalence.
well, there's keep in mind there's tiers. This is just the normal stuff. I'm sure if you had a total hearing loss and you could prove that it was related to it, you're going to get paid a lot more money. But for the average person, they're not going to pay out like $3 million.
Well, because I feel like if these class action lawsuits were affected, like were more effective, this would companies would, I don't know, be more diligent. It kind of feels like, why don't we consider this kind of consumer theft of this kind of false advertising, this um endangerment? Why don't we consider this a crime? You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I kind of can see. I would rather get paid. I would rather get paid out. I want the value of my car and then some because they were too lazy or they cheaped out on security. I mean, I would rather have my car back, but I want, people to say, well, we fucked up. We got to pay the price.
Yes, but what I'm saying is if like it would be good to get paid appropriately for what you lost. If you got paid appropriately for what you really lost, that would be a financial burden for these companies
Oh, yeah.
and they would be more
These cars aren't
careful
cheap.
about avoiding these kinds of things. A class action lawsuit is the only definitive recourse people have, and that still doesn't seem like enough of a deterrent for all these companies that get away with these kinds of things. And that's the biggest option
Well,
we
okay.
have.
So here's the thing. I don't think it was a malicious thing. It's not like, you got to push it back on the criminals at some point too. It's like, granted, I
True.
want them to pay for their fuck up, but I don't think it was intentional, if that makes sense. It's not like they're going, oh, Well, because I don't. It's just not something they do to heavily look into how easy it is to crack their their computer, whatever these people did, right?
No, that's literally the job of the car company. If there's certain things that is the point of a car is you need to make sure that they aren't stolen, you need to make sure that they're safe. Like there are all these different things. A car is a huge expensive vehicle
Well,
that
especially these.
can harm people.
So,
And there are all these different safety guards that are in there, and people pay a lot of money for them to ensure that they don't get stolen easily is like the number one thing. And to ensure that they keep the inside person safe is the like other big thing.
so for comparison, right? We're not talking about chump change for these cars. I know a lot of people might be listening and go, "Okay, well, it's just a car, right? Who cares?" No, these are mine alone cost me about $75,000, and then I had to pay
Right. These cars are
bullshit
almost the price of a
taxes.
like a house.
Yeah, and like you're looking at the high end models. If you get like a limited edition something, you're looking at. I think the King Daytonas are going for like 158 right now, or the Dodge Demons are like 100 and something. They're not chump change. They're ridiculously expensive. And you're right. I think they should be, easier to um or it is responsibility of the car manufacturers to figure out ways of how to break into their car and then counteract it so it won't happen.
Well, especially why do these specific models have such a weakness that other cars do not, right? That means that these are weaknesses that are known that other people, even previous models, don't have. So it means these weaknesses are known, and this company decided not to put in the effort to counteract it,
Well,
right?
I don't think
Am I
the
wrong?
exploits were really known, or if they were known, I mean that definitely falls under negligence and they should be punished accordingly for that. But going on to the police, right? Since this is kind of what we wanted to talk about too today.
Yeah.
They've been very helpful, but they just said, "Look, we can't do really anything." In not so many words. They basically said, "We can't really do anything about this." And I said, "Why? We have the coordinates, we have where it's at. Let's go in there." So I wanted to raise a question for you because I know you've been on the let's defund the police side of things a few times. Are you still let's defund the police?
Well, the police been able to help you get your car back, right?
Yeah, they're trying their best, but they're so defunded. They're so swamped
No, like
with
look at tell
cases.
me how has the LA police actually been defunded?
Yes, I've
No,
heard
they
it
haven't.
from I've heard it from the cops themselves. They are understaffed.
Oh, okay. Sure, sure.
Okay, like I trust you over literally the police station, my local police station, mind you, not the LAPD, my local police station,
Hey, you know what?
because
Your
that's
local police
different.
station might be different, but the New York City Police Station, the LA City Police Station, and Seattle Police City Police Station are some of the best funded police stations that have more money than most militaries. These are very, very well funded police stations,
Yeah,
and
it's not enough.
during Biden's
Not
presidency,
enough.
they have been given more money during the presidency. And here's the thing is, has all this funding done anything? That's the thing is, it's not about like what like it's about what actually does deter crime. It's about what actually is effective because funding the police are not legally obligated to do anything. You the police do not really solve violent crime. They have, you know, they're like their rates of solving cases are very low. Like what they can actually do, what they're legally obligated to do, is not that effective, period. And what should be under their jurisdiction should be limited as well. So all these things that we also consider crimes, right? There's so many things that we like, things that a lot of things that LA has tried and like California are decriminalizing, like we considered possession of marijuana and stuff like that like a crime, right? So like all that time and money spent policing that and considering that a crime is like a total waste of money, right?
I mean, yeah. I, the problem is like I said, I've talked to the police, and my local police station, they are doing everything they can to help me, but they said they are just so backed up on cases, they're so backed up with everything else, there's nothing they can do, and they can't hire more people on. And then on top of that, they're having problems finding people to even be in the police right now because everybody hates them. Well, okay, not everybody. Leftists hate them.
I see. So you think funding the police more would get your car back?
I think it would help. I think if they were on it quicker, and if SiriusXM wasn't garbage, we could have gotten it back. Honestly, because so here's the weird thing. Because I talked to a few people, and we have this app, right, that does the tracking. It's the Dodge app. I can find where my car was last parked. If I wouldn't have went to SiriusXM and said, "Hey, my car is stolen," and they lock out the app, so they don't want you knowing anything, which is ridiculous because after that 2 week period, it just goes back to the way it is. So what is it? It's kind of very contradictory. They said, "Well, our responsibility is over. Bye. We tried." It
So
oh, okay. Anyway, the point I was trying to make is, if I wouldn't have enabled it, I could have went and found where it was located, because at the time my app was still talking to my car. I could have called the police and said, "Look, I'm honking the horn. I'm auto starting it. You can hear it. It's right there. Go and get them." That's enough evidence.
I see. So when you were in the military and you said there was all this useless like bureaucracy there, um, you think that the military was still like effective and that the bureaucracy worked?
Okay, let's put it this way. If it ever comes to the point where we need to put warheads on foreheads, stuff will get going. The bureaucracy will melt away, and you will see things getting done like nobody's business. I guarantee it.
And do you think, and is the like the police the same thing? Do you think is that how it works for you? Like how does the police work to you?
How do they work? Like, in what capacity?
To like in your,
Versus like the military?
well, I'm trying to understand how you believe the police work.
I I mean,
Like, do you believe that like the police will just, if they have more funding, they will just like automatically work better and
okay.
they just need
So
more people?
here
Is
here
it,
it
do you,
is. I
like,
think it's a
what do you think?
people.
Why
I
do
think
you
it's a
think
people
that
thing.
they're, I see. So you just think they just need more staffing.
Yeah, I think they need more staffing, because what you can do if you have enough staffing is show a presence in a community, get to know the members of that community. That way, when something happens, they'll be more inclined to report it because they know, like, oh, my police officer is Officer Bob, right? Bob is great. He comes out, he hangs out with us every now and again, and he patrols the area and likes to say hello. We know about him, he knows about us, right? That is a good way to foster a better community, right? But Since they're underfunded, they don't have the people. People hate them right now. You
How
know,
much police funding goes to staffing?
I don't have a budget sheet in front of me. I couldn't tell you, but
Well, I
it's
don't know.
not
Let's look
enough.
it up. Well, how much would be enough? What does enough mean?
I want a goddamn police officer on every single block.
Do
Okay,
you
maybe
think things
not
would
that
be better
much,
that
but
way? Do you think that a police presence is that, or do you think that it's the presence of people that would do that? Because part of
so let's put it this
police,
way.
part of
I think
safety,
if there
because
was a police officer on our street, those people who went and stole my car probably would have gone the other way because they don't want a police officer in their business.
in
Because
New
they
York
broke a
City,
window.
they have police officers in, like every single station, and there are still people, like there are several police officers like right next to a mass shooter that still didn't do anything.
Well, I'm not saying they're all great and everybody's, you know, fantastic, but
Well, I'm just saying that this is a common theme amongst police departments in general. So if like what is it a police officer's job to do?
stop crime
So their job is to be a deterrent.
in a way, yeah. And then if something happens, they're there to respond to it
And how are they supposed to respond to it?
by coming out. If you have gunshots, I would sure hope somebody comes out, or even a domestic, um, domestic case of violence.
So what what do they do when they come out?
Arrest people if a crime has been committed. I mean, I
No, I'm just curious. Like, so is it the threat of jail that the police do? Is it a physical person, their presence that matters? Is it
I think
the
it's a.
threat of violence? Like, I'm confused. Like, I want to know what the police do.
I would sure hope you know what the police do. Okay,
To you, what do the police
to
do
me,
that is effective?
the police are a deterrent for crime, and
Because of their physical
they're
presence.
yeah, and they respond to acts of crime in order to catch criminals. I think it's bullshit that we're letting California, mind you, that we're letting people just walk out with under $900 worth of stuff and then going up, oh, slap on the wrist. Okay, now you're back out on the streets. That's ludicrous to me.
You know
It's
what it is? It's because they wait until it's a felony and then they can like get you for something harder.
no, I think it's just dumb politicians making rules because that's like a okay, if you steal over this. Honestly, I think you know I, I kind of wish we could have vigilante justice in a way. I know that's kind of ridiculous, but
I see. So you prefer violence.
in this case, somebody stealing my car, you goddamn right I prefer violence.
So you view your personal objects as a violation upon your physical body.
Uh look, let's put it this way. I've once heard something, right? It's not that I value my property over somebody else's life. It's the criminal values my property over their life.
Hmm.
That's just how I see it.
Do you think that a police presence deters crime
Yeah, 100%.
above all other things? Do you believe in any other form of crime prevention or crime like
Okay,
things that deter crime?
let's put it this way. I feel you should be responsible yourself first and foremost, not to be a target. And especially after this whole incident, there's going to be things that we do in the house that are going to change because I never want this to happen again. Plus, we talked with, because we have an HOA here, like who doesn't these days, but we talked with the HOA about increasing our security system. So we're going to now install cameras, we're going to have signs, and we're going to have a license plate reader.
Yeah,
So,
that's a great option. I have a question. Do you guys have sidewalks in your neighborhood?
yes, but they're not in the. So on the camera, you saw how it was kind of like a little U, it was kind of like a loop.
Yeah.
We don't have sidewalks in this area. So literally nobody past the front who isn't supposed to be here shouldn't be here.
So like nobody walks around in this area. Nobody's out in this area. People just like drive and everybody kind of minds their own
No,
business, right?
there's tons of people walking out on the sidewalk and the street.
But
We get people
but there's
all
no
the time out there.
but is there a sidewalk? Are there people out there in
Yeah,
that area or
not at
okay.
4:32 in the morning though. There isn't
Mm.
anybody. But it is known in our area that sometimes people will go and steal like catalytic converters or maybe bust in a window and grab stuff. But for our area, all the way up here, like you saw the little pool area, there hasn't been people don't come off the street into this area because we got cameras almost on every single house out here. And now we're
And you
gonna
guys are like kind of a dense, vibrant area where people like are out and about in the neighborhood in general, and it's generally pretty safe, right?
generally, yeah,
So the a car being stolen is like very shocking and stressful.
yeah, incredibly, because it just we've talked to people who've lived here for like 30 years, and in that whole time, they've had break-ins, they've had catalytic converters, but they've never had a whole car being stolen. So I figured because it was parked back there, it was safe. Obviously, I should have taken more steps. Sure, you can put that on me. I should have known as another one. Well, if a car hasn't been stolen in 30 years, uh, and somebody had the audacity come all the way in here past one, two, three, four, five, six,
I kind of want to make it clear
seven.
I'm not blaming you
No, I know,
personally for this.
but
I'm blaming the car manufacturers for the most part.
I've yes, but I've had people blame us for it. And I go, what kind of horse shit are you smoking? Because you have no clue what you're talking about. Again, we live in a great neighborhood. You know, a lot of times park my car in the garage so it's off the street. I think these are just, vagabonds or something that was
Well, see, the thing
specifically
is,
looking.
in the 30 years, your neighborhood has the things that make neighborhoods quantifiably safer. You guys have streetlights, which do the same amount of like boost in safety as a police presence. Like having streetlights makes streets the same percentage safer as having a police presence. And you also have a lot of density and people around, and having people in person monitoring the street, having an active like neighborhood, that is also a very important part of having a safe neighborhood, is having people actually out and about on the street interacting, knowing your neighbors. Those are very important parts of having a safe neighborhood. That is, those
Well,
are
just because we know
important
our
aspects.
neighbors doesn't mean they're not, you know, any shenanigans at play there. Our little neighborhood, so like the place you saw with the the little loop, we'll just call it a loop.
Yeah.
We're all good, but we have a lot of apartments, very low income apartments next to us. And I'm not saying everybody over there is bad, but we'll get some shady people going in and out uh, fairly often. So it's not like we're completely immune. And we've had some tagging and other stuff, but it pretty much gets taken care of pretty quick.
Well, so in some way, it sounds like there's some shady people there, but also that the amount of apartments help add to the neighborhood density, which adds to the amount of people that are in the area, which helps add to like people being around, which helps increase neighborhood surveillance.
Yeah.
right? Because if there was nobody surveilling anything,
Well,
this would
yeah.
be a lot sketchier
And
of a neighborhood.
and it's a dead end too. So, it's not like we're on a thorough street or people cut through it to get on the backside or wherever. If you're in
Well,
here,
actually, I'm curious if it's safer in a thorough street than at a dead end. Like, I wonder if the dead end makes it like have less eyes on it, or because I'm sure like a thorough street, I'm sure there's people driving at 4 in the morning to get to work at like 6 a.m.
maybe that's a good question. That's something we should look into. But you
I
know,
mean, I'm just saying like there are a lot of different impacts that impact neighborhood safety. There are a lot of different things that prevent crime. And for example, like living on the fourth floor of my building, I am in a I'm not in like a bad neighborhood. I'm my parents have always tried to make sure that I'm in very safe neighborhood, but like my neighbor lives on the first floor and they leave their door unlocked a lot of the time. Um, like we live in a very safe building, but we of course lock like our front door is always locked, but like our
mhm.
individual apartment building, like we don't have to be like vigilant about keeping that locked all the time. It's been incredibly safe. Like I've never had any of my places I've ever lived in, and I've lived in New York City, I've lived in Seattle, like the only time anything's ever been stolen is when we lived in Dyersville, Iowa, and a stroller was stolen off our porch.
Oh yeah, I mean, porch piracy. I kind of can get.
It was
Again,
definitely like teenagers, right? But
yeah, that's just like dumb teens. But like a full car is just a
a
different
full car
ballpark.
is definitely a whole different ballpark and a whole
Yeah,
different level of safety. But
like I can deal with a broken in window, whatever. I can deal with a few stuff being stolen out of it. I can't deal with this. My car is just missing thing.
my question is it a police person that needs to be there, or is it just like actual physical people that need to be there, right?
Well, okay.
Like,
So have you seen? I've seen some studies where, like, how should I explain this? People are turning a blind eye to a car alarm going off. We've become desensitized to it, right? Just because, oh, what do you do when you hear a car alarm go off? Do you just ignore it?
right, because it's often, well, that actually happens when the car alarm is almost oversensitive, right? Where you know that it goes off as soon as you open the door. That's when people get desensitized to it.
No, I think people are
Uh,
just naturally desensitized to it because, they might hear it on occasion, but they just either don't care or are annoyed by it. So what do? You just ignore it.
I don't know. My mom's
Versus,
incredibly nosy. She saw some guy lying on the ground, like on a bench, and she was like, tried to call the police and to see if he needed help or something.
but that's not the norm though. That's what I'm saying. Is the norm is, I mean, I do it too. I mean, I've even accidentally clicked my own panic button and it was going off and I didn't realize it was mine for like 10 minutes and I was like, whose freaking alarm is that? And I look and my kid is playing with my keys and I went, "Oh shit, that's mine." Great. I'm just pissing off the neighborhood, right?
Right. So because people don't interact with the stolen car alarm, you don't think that
I don't think
it
it's very effective. Uh if so here's the kicker. I'm usually up at 4 in the mornings, right? I'm usually up at
Mhm.
that time. If I would have heard something, I would have ran out there with some sort of weapon and charged. I don't even care. I have a
Here's the thing
history
is like
of
even if
confrontation.
even if like nobody um even if nobody like directly intervenes, I notice that if a car alarm goes off, everybody looks and they like notice until the person like turns it off and goes into their car. At least in my experience that I've seen so far.
No,
So it's
not in
not that like
suburbia. Not in suburbia.
well, maybe it's just different in the places that I've
Yeah.
been. I haven't really had. I mean, my experiences are different than yours, so it's just
True.
different. But um, I mean, losing a car is incredibly difficult, especially it being almost paid off, all your stuff in it, the sentimental value, like that's really something else. Um, I mean, there's something to be said about our forced car dependence, but that's a different story altogether.
Well, okay.
Um,
Keep in mind where you live versus where I live. LA was built around the highway.
yeah, that's kind of the problem, actually. Only New York City and some parts of Seattle are really. I live a whole mile away from the light rail, and sure, I live like decently close to the bus stop, but like I can't walk a whole mile. That's like too far for me. Everything is so spread out and everything's car centric. It's incredibly difficult, actually. I think that our forced car dependence is really a detriment to society in many ways. And it's really amazing when you like look into the research how many cities were originally very small and dense and very vibrant, and like what has happened to them once we bulldozed those original downtowns and turned them into car centric places. But we can have a whole discussion about this some other time because I know you don't care.
Look, I like my car. I like my horsepower. I'm rebuilding, or I'm taking apart. I'm actually taking it apart right now. My Corvette, and I'm gonna put it back together into a track car. So I,
Cars as a machine and cars as infrastructure are different things.
yeah, but I need the infrastructure so I can drive. So I can drive long and fast. Definitely not breaking the speed limit, of course, because that's against the law.
So, well, because for example, when you talked about how there was that person in Alaska that needed your help and you brought your gun and you got out,
Yeah.
I was thinking about, I wonder how much of it was just your presence, just the set, like just you observing, how much of it was just you
Ah.
physically being there, and how much of it was the gun. Because I feel like a lot of it was like you, especially you as a man, being there to witness, right? Because I think that your presence as a man actually like
Okay.
makes a big difference. I think
Here
that it's, I personally think it matters.
here is two stories for you. So, A, I'm going to fill people in on the gun story cuz I'm pretty sure nobody knows about it. And then B, I'm going to tell
Oh
you
yeah,
another
we might not have.
story. Um I'm going to tell you another story similar but with a different end result. And this will go into, I believe, you know, safety of your family is your responsibility first and foremost. Don't, as much as I think police are here for us, they're good and they need more money, which I think they do. I feel like safety concerns, you need to take action first and foremost, and then the police. So, we have guns in the house,
Hmm.
and because what you're gonna call, oh, like, oh my gosh, there's somebody in my house. They're not gonna be there for like 8 to 10 minutes. I think is the response time. You could already be dead in that time frame. Just saying. Anyway, so the gun story was I was in Alaska. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning. I was with my ex-wife at the time. We were just playing games. I was on night shift at the time, and I think it was like a weekend, right? We're in an apartment complex with a few other apartment complexes, or I think they were like condos or something. But I hear
Almost the entirety of Alaska lives in like that one building, right?
no, that is not true. That's only in one spot, and it's like
Oh, okay.
anyway. We don't all
Never
live
mind.
underground,
I
so
just heard about this one building that basically like
yes, there
like
is.
is the entirety of a city, and I thought that was cool.
It's it's not a city. It's more like a town. It's very small. Anyway, so I hear this like blood curdling scream. That was a girl. I, without even thinking it, grabbed a shotgun and ran. Right, ran out there to see what was going on because
Hmm.
I don't know if somebody's being murdered, if somebody's being beaten up. Doesn't matter to me. Went out there, saw this guy his wife, girlfriend, I don't know, I didn't get the story, um, was basically a victim of spousal abuse or partner abuse, what
Domestic
domestic
violence.
violence. That's what I was looking for, domestic violence. So I go out there with a shotgun. I basically yell at him to get off her and get down on the ground. I'm pointing at it. He doesn't know it. It's not loaded. There's nothing in it. I didn't have time to load it. I just grabbed it and went. My ex at the time called 911 and they were out there within 5 to 10 minutes. I don't know. It was, very hectic. Sure enough, they came, they arrested the guy. He had a warrant. You know, good job. She got away, hopefully. That was the, good Samaritan citizen thing to do, right? For me, at
Hmm.
least, that's the right thing to do.
Yeah, I
Another
agree.
story, we had some neighbors across the street from us shooting off fireworks on a fucking Wednesday at like
Jesus.
11 o'clock at night. My son had COVID at the time, so we just got him down to sleep.
Baby.
And they're not shooting off like, oh, little sparklers or like things. No, they're pulling out fucking mortars and launching them. So, sure enough, I do what I did the last time. I went out and confronted him. Didn't go over so well. No gun, just me.
Where were they?
They were in the street.
No, no, like which location were you at? Is this
I was in
also in
California.
Alaska?
No, this was in California. So I confront them. I get their information. I try and get their car information. We call out the police like 2 or 3 times. They don't do anything because they're like, oh, well, we can't do anything. Oh, great. Like, these people are like breaking the law. I just saw them. Like, what the fuck? They leave. They go and launch more fireworks off just to be pricks. I go out there again. I start recording it. I'm like, all right, well, fine. You're going to do this. I'm going to record so we know where you're at and we can tell the police so they can, basically get you because it's a fine. It's $1,000 fine. It's something, right?
Hmm.
Regardless of what, it's not like jail time or anything. It's just a fine. So sure enough, words get exchanged, and I'm trying to like not heighten the situation, but the dude punches me in the face. I go on the
Hmm.
ground. I'm bleeding all over the place. Police show up. They want to know if I want to press charges or anything. I'm just like, what's the point? What are you guys gonna do? Like, what? We're gonna have to go to court. How long is this gonna take? Well, right now because of the way things are going, it's gonna take a long time, and blah 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 blah. And then it'd be just like all this bullshit. So I said, whatever. Just like I'll make a police report, and if it ever happens again, we'll pull up the old police report, and then we'll hit him basically twice, knowing this guy is now a criminal. And they said, yeah, you could do that. And
It's a good solution.
they said that that's probably your best option because it's like a he said she said thing, and I wasn't really diffusing the situation like I should have, but you
I mean,
know,
what's there to confuse? Like,
the
you
guy was
want them to
being
stop firing fireworks in the middle of the fucking night.
yeah, and then I get punched. I'm not trying to say I wasn't like handling the situation well. I fully admit I was not handling the situation well and probably was inciting a little bit more than I should have. But I'm pretty sure if I went out there with a shotgun,
It
things would have
it
gone
would
a
have
lot
definitely made it
differently.
worse. I don't know. I
Worse.
feel like a shotgun would have been worse.
How? How so? I think they would have fucking left because they know I'm an absolute batshit crazy person.
Yeah, that's how I think it would have been worse. I mean, he might not have punched you, but that's definitely inciting violence.
I don't see it that way. I see it as diffusing violence. It's a gun is a force multiplier. I don't think. Okay. Hold on. Let me rephrase that. Maybe less than lethal. item. So have you seen guns that shoot like paintball pepper balls, right?
Maybe.
Okay, so there's like airsoft guns, or not really airsoft. They're like paintball guns, right? They look like a handgun. They use CO2 cartridges and they shoot pepper balls.
I don't know what that is.
Pepper, like pepper spray, tear gas.
Oh.
So
Do you have one of those, or do you just have like a regular gun that shoots real bullets?
I have both.
Oh.
So, because California's okay. So here's the thing. I feel like I could confront somebody easier in Alaska and defuse the situation a lot better. And the police were just like, yep, nope, you're good. You did the right thing. I, when they showed up, I went, oh, here's my gun. I was like, it's actually not loaded. I didn't have time to load it, but he didn't know that, right? You hear the iconic sound of a pump action shotgun going, you freeze
Right.
because that noise alone, I think everybody knows what that sounds like, and it is intimidating. But I can't do that here in California because our gun laws are so ass backwards that I would get in trouble. Granted, I
Well,
wouldn't use it in this situation. I might use something less than lethal or like a deterrent more than a an actual physical gun. Because I don't think, like, honestly, you really shouldn't be bringing a gun out unless it's absolutely justified. And the first story, definitely justified. Second one, probably not so much.
yeah, I
So,
think you
so
did the
you're right.
appropriate
You're right.
thing. I think, because I think that like bringing a gun to like ask a polite inquiry is definitely like inciting. It's definitely a threat, right? Because like
Well,
it was that guy that was unreasonable, right? If you had brought the gun, then he could have called the police on you.
yeah, exactly. The tape. Well, and he was. I'm a white guy. He was a person of color. Who do you think would have won?
I mean, really depends on which police person showed up.
Okay, all right. Well, fair. But I mean, I live in
I'm just
California.
look.
They would have.
I'm. You're right. The optics would not have been good
Yeah,
in anybody who is not racist.
yeah,
Um, especially if you're the one with a gun. So, I think you made the right call with that. And I mean, it's pretty messed up that he punched you. I feel like asking somebody not to shoot fireworks is
yeah. I literally said
pretty reasonable.
like we live. I was like, guys, I don't care you're shooting off fireworks, but it's a fucking Wednesday on no like I call them like firework holidays. No firework holidays. There's no big games going on. No nothing, and they were just firing them off, firing them off, firing them off, multiple ones, and then
Dude, why?
I just being complete and utter assholes. I was like, dude, you guys have mountains right behind us. That's like a 2 minute drive. Go up there. Like, they're like, oh, well, you're blah, blah, blah. It's like,
Is he still your neighbor or is this a different neighborhood?
it's complicated because they're not really our neighbors. They're across the street in like kitty corner, so they're still there, but we don't
Okay,
really
so he's in
interact
your
and deal with them.
neighborhood.
Yeah, it's like in the neighborhood kind of thing.
Oh, wow. Okay, awkward.
But
It's still freaking there.
well, we I didn't, but somebody else did. One of my neighbors who I know very well called up or found the owners to the house because they're rentals and said you need to get control of your tenants because A, they just punched somebody, and B, they're shooting off fireworks. So do something about
Yeah.
it.
Oh. And did they shape up or?
Well, we haven't had any problems with them since. So,
Huh.
but
It seemed like that worked much more than the police then.
Well, like I said, first and foremost, I think you should be, or yeah, you should be responsible for your own. I don't really want to say defense, security, first and foremost, and then you rely on the police.
What are other like community things that you think should be done to like ensure public safety?
Like community, like activities, like neighborhood watch type stuff.
Well, what do you think? What other things do you think should reduce crime to like, have cohesion? What do you think makes that happen? Because I don't think like, do you think like only the police could make that happen? I don't feel like you do. So like, I was wondering
So
what else you.
here's the problem, right? So let's say my car is out there. I hear it getting broken into. I run out with a gun. I shoot the person stealing my car. Guess who gets in trouble?
Probably you.
Exactly. I'm get I get in trouble. I'm the one that gets in trouble. Because they would go, oh, you should have just let it go. I was like, but here's the catch. If they come into my house, I can then I have the right to defend my home, property, and myself. Right?
Hmm.
So why is it that I will be the one in trouble when my car is over there, but not over here?
Because your car is not on your own property.
But it's a communal property for our community. Nobody parks here that doesn't have a pass. So all the houses in the area have passes. Nobody else is supposed to park there unless they have that pass. So at what point are you and that's this is why I have problem with like certain kind of politics, if that makes sense. Where I
Well, like, how do you
feel,
ensure that those are enforced fairly?
well, how about this? If I see a person in my car that I don't know and I shoot them because they were trying to steal it, I feel like that's fairly justified.
Well, it has to be on camera though, right?
Well, we had it on camera. We have it on multiple cameras. I just showed you two of the highlights.
Well, that's what I'm saying is like, if it's on camera,
So you
that's
need
one thing.
so you needed to have just cause? Is that what you're saying?
I personally don't really, I'm not really, you know how I feel about guns.
Yeah,
But like,
I
within that, if I were to accept your premise, the reason why we can't generally have that is because it's very difficult to establish just cause unless you have like a visual recording of somebody doing something. Otherwise, it's like he said, she said, and anybody can say, "Oh, well, they were doing X, Y, Z." You know
well,
what I mean?
how many times have people stopped the muggers or vice versa? I'm not going to get into it now, but there have been instances where mass shooters have been stopped by a person with it. We'll put it this way: a good guy with a gun. Anyway, but that's a topic for another day. I'm just going to kind of sum up my thing because we're starting to get kind of up there on time. A, be on the lookout for this car in the Hollywood area if you're a listener in here, and if you see it, call the police because it is MIA right now. Second of
And
all, if you have any kind of Dodge Scat Pack or Hellcats, and you're on the fence about getting additional like security measures for it, just put them in yourself. Put a kill switch in, put a GPS, put air tags, anything and everything right now, especially if you have a 2020 or 20 through 2022 model.
and don't forget to, if it's a Kia or any of those other ones as well. But Because there's a few other models in the side ones, but just to
Yeah, that's fair. All right. What about your
well,
what are your final thoughts?
my my final thoughts are I'm very sorry that your car got stolen. This is very traumatic, and I understand how frustrating it is. My one thing is that I do not think that funding the police more is going to get have any effect on the bureaucracy of it. What we should be doing is we should have a very specific scope of what we want the police to be doing, and we should have different departments for different things. And does that I don't think unlimited funding for the police is going to change the outcome, like you getting your car back. But I do think maybe preventing crime, like ensuring that we have higher consumer protections, like making sure that we don't have cars that are so easily stolen, would be maybe better.
All right.
And the importance of, community involvement and community safety and having people out and about and having street lights and all that stuff.
Sounds good.
But I do hear what you mean about how you felt like because they had so much cases, they told you that because they were defunded, they had so many cases they couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
I understand why this personal experience and what they're telling you gives you this impression. I do not
Fair.
believe with this impression, but I'm hearing what you're saying.
Fair enough. All right. And with that, I think we're going to be done for today. So thanks for coming out and listening. Stay safe out there, and you're in control of your own security.
Take care, guys. Be safe and defund the police.
No,
Bye.
no, no!